Facial recognition technology actually fails dark-skinned women about 34% of the time, while, well, practically never failing light-skinned men. And voice assistants, they're overwhelmingly feminized, quietly reinforcing this idea of female servitude in millions of homes.
Yeah, the literature review in this chapter really paints a pretty stark picture of baked-in bias.
It really does. So, welcome to today's deep dive. If you're a development practitioner or an academic watching AI reshape your field, this one is definitely for you. Today, we are unpacking a 2026 chapter co-authored by Anna Androsik of Feminist Data and Research and Edmund Apeldocu of the Foundation for Data and Research.
Right, and this is all part of an edited volume called AI for Whom? Global Perspectives on Responsible AI for Inclusive Development, which was published by the International Development Institute at Humber Polytechnic.
Okay, let's unpack this. How do we make sure AI actually drives inclusive development rather than just, upgrading old inequalities?
Yeah. Well, it really forces us to confront an uncomfortable reality about how these systems are built. I mean, globally, women make up less than 25% of AI professionals.
Wait, less than 25%? That is incredibly low.
Exactly. So in the labor pipeline and the data training these models are both structurally skewed, bias just isn't an accident. It's a predictable feature of the system.
Right, so we aren't just adopting new tech, we are actively importing old hierarchies. It feels like AI isn't just a mirror reflecting society, it's a megaphone amplifying our existing biases.
What's fascinating here is that the authors point out these aren't just technical glitches. They are symptoms of exclusionary data and labor pipelines. And without proper governance, AI really risks becoming a tool for digital colonialism.
Digital colonialism. So instead of achieving technological sovereignty, developing nations just become data extraction sites for algorithms built in, like Silicon Valley or London.
Precisely. Which is why the authors pivot so hard from just making software tweaks to focusing on institutional governance. Because if the bias is a predictable feature of who builds the systems,
You can't fix the AI without fixing the rooms where it's created.
exactly. They argue that an AI lab is no longer just a technical hub. It is a development governance institution.
A development governance institute. I mean, when you think about the power these labs wield, it makes total sense.
Right, because if an AI system is going to decide who gets an agricultural loan or who gets shortlisted for a job, the lab that built that algorithm is essentially making public policy.
And if you are making public policy, you need to be governed like a public institution.
Exactly. You need a gender-transformative approach that actively dismantles barriers. Things like the unpaid care burdens keeping women out of STEM or heavily biased hiring networks.
Okay, treating a tech lab like a policymaker sounds great in theory, but how do you actually measure that culture? I mean, you can't just hand an AI lab a certified inclusive sticker because they hired a couple of female engineers.
You can't. And the authors address that by utilizing Canada's Gender-Based Analysis Plus, or GBA Plus framework. We'll keep the methodology discussion brief, but it provides a replicable model for assessing whether AI institutions themselves are infused with gender-inclusive characteristics and practices.
So it acts like an audit for the lab itself. It's like inspecting the kitchen instead of just tasting the soup. If the kitchen is contaminated, it doesn't really matter how much you tweak the recipe.
That is a perfect way to look at it. So to see this governance theory in action, the authors bring up a real-world case study, RAIL.
Right, the Responsible Artificial Intelligence Lab in West Africa.
Yeah. In Ghana, they are trying to intervene directly in that broken pipeline by integrating gender inclusion right into AI education. They use programs like Wisdom.
Oh, wow. So they actively recruit and support girls in tech.
They do, but it also highlights the real-world friction of this work. Because while the lead institution in Ghana has strong governance and gender policies, their partner labs in Senegal and Cape Verde actually lack formalized gender strategies right now.
Right, you can't just sign a partnership agreement and expect gender equality to magically sync up across borders. Aligning those internal cultures must take massive, deliberate effort.
It does. Governance doesn't just trickle down automatically. Building an inclusive consortium means fighting deeply entrenched structural norms, and that requires sustained institutional oversight.
So what does this all mean for you? If you are managing a development project, the lesson from Rail is that your tech tools are only as equitable as the institutions building them. You really have to look at the governance behind the gadget.
Exactly. We just can't be passive consumers of these tools anymore.
Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on. If the institutions building our technology are never truly neutral, what invisible structural biases are shaping the neutral tools you rely on in your own development work every day? And if you'd like to read the full study, go to the website of Humber Polytechnic's International Development Institute to read or download the volume of AI for Whom there.